After the lunch break, Jane Doe was back on the stand and she was talking about a night in LA where Diddy had brought a man to their hotel room, and she said she tried for 30 minutes but just couldn't fake it. She was repulsed by him, and when she tried to talk to Diddy in another room, she said he was agitated. That kind of hiccup was rare, but he decided to just bring another man. He talked about a time when Diddy wanted her to come to New York, but she told him, "I'm not coming if you're just setting me up with another man," and he told her, "No, it's just going to be one-on-one." She was on a plane, she had Wi-Fi, and Diddy texted her asking her if she wanted entertainment, and again she went along with it. She said, "I was disappointed. My shot of seeing my lover was just shot down." Gets to the Trump Hotel and the assistants were setting up the lights, and she took a photo of it, which was shown to the jury. She told Diddy she didn't want to do it, but he got super defensive, and then he gave her X. She said they get to the room, the man was already there, and then he started touching her, and she tells Diddy, "I can't do this." So again, he calls another man. Again, she said she didn't want to do it, but she knew this is what her partner would want, and they asked if Diddy was paying her rent at the time, and she said yes. Then said she called Sly, who was excited to come, and he flew from Atlanta to New York. She said after they finished, Sly went to go pick up his cash from the front desk, which was left there by one of Diddy's assistants. They then went through a binder of photos of entertainers, and she would name them, describe what happened between them, but said that Sly was the one that she saw most. And talked about the fact that she herself set up hotel nights for Diddy on 2 separate occasions. One of the times was Valentine's Day, and the other time was when Diddy had come back from a long trip. The reason being is because he would text her saying, "I can't wait to see what you have in store for me," and she could read between the lines. Also testified that she saw Diddy giving cash to 2 of the entertainers, and she herself also gave cash to 2 other men, but the money always came from Diddy. Again, if he ever ran out of cash, it was either his security or KK who would bring it to him. She was then asked about recordings, and she said Diddy always did it on his cell phone and told her not to worry because it was just for him. She said she was fine with him recording because it was part of what was happening, and said she acted like she enjoyed the encounters because I wanted to put on a good show. Yes, he directed, and she would follow his directions on command. The jury then saw 15 photos from these nights, and it was her and another man in the photos, and she said Diddy was present for all of them. She talked about wearing dancer shoes and how she would have them on the entire time, and how the baby oil would go into the shoes and she would try to keep her balance. Then talked about the fact that Diddy had her pierce her chest and that KK was the one that set up the appointment. She said at one point it got caught in her lingerie and it got infected, so she removed it and said that Diddy told her, "Where are my piercings? This is the last time I see you without them." Talked about how her back would hurt from how much she had to bend over, how she was sore downstairs, but never told him anything because she didn't want to be negative. But she said she did take antibiotics for UTIs and yeast infections, and she did tell Diddy when she would have those. There were times where she couldn't fully recover from these infections when they would have their next hotel night. Then said that she brought up many times that she didn't want to do this, but Diddy would always get defensive. Sometimes it would be in person, other times it would be in text messages, and she even had stuff in her notes because she didn't have the courage to say it, but she wanted to write it down. Towards the end of her relationship in 2024, after he found out the FBI were looking into him, she said that Diddy told her that he never knew she didn't want to do this. That she believed him until she looked back through her text messages and realized she had been telling him that since 2021. In November of 2021, she was jealous when she saw him doing things with another woman on IG stories. It would make her feel jealous because she would have hotel nights with him, but then with other women, he would do the things she wanted to do with him. She texted him saying, "I need a breather and a break from you." Also texted him saying, "Don't say you effing miss me and you're bored over there. Just don't say ish to me at all. You don't deserve me." Well, the prosecutors then played a voice note he sent to her where he said, "You gotta believe this is the last time you're gonna be cursing at me." Then says to her, "She asks me to work out. This is the time you gonna curse at me? I don't have a bunch of guy friends. Don't matter if I just effed her. Be sad, go crazy. I don't deserve being honest with someone." She tells the prosecutors she doesn't believe the other woman was just coming to the gym, and she didn't actually care that he was laying with her. She said, "I just wanted that time with him," so she tells him, "It's not me you want, it's these nights." Then talked about the fact that Diddy had 2 phones because he started dating another woman. She said she saw the fact that he had done a big birthday for her, so she texted him saying, "I see why you're going for her. Why do you play me? Say she's just a business partner, then you say she's spending money on you? How would you feel if I said a man was spending money on me?" Then she said to Diddy, "I feel cheap." And the thing is, her birthday was right before that, and she said she got dressed up, she went out with Diddy, and then of course, at the end of the night, he made her have one of those hotel nights. She tells the jury, it was really heartbreaking for me because I felt that I saw this big grandiose birthday that he did for her versus the type of birthday that I just experienced with him. She texted him saying, I don't ever want to do another hotel night. I didn't want to do those with you on my birthday, but I wanted to make sure we had a good time. I feel so cheap once again. And talked about the fact that Diddy was on vacation with another girl and she went out with her friends for her birthday and that Diddy paid for it, but he wasn't there. He then showed another text message she sent to Diddy after a night with 3 men where she told him she was tired, and his response was, I'm tired of you throwing sex in my face, let's just be friends. She said it was like this whenever she would bring up hotel nights, and she texted him back saying, are you breaking up with me? Now mind you, she's sobbing while she's saying this. You're the only man in my life. You took someone else to the place I have dreamed about, which was Turks and Caicos. He responded saying, I'm tired of these long texts telling me what I'm doing wrong. And I wrote, what am I doing wrong? He then wrote to her saying, anything you've asked me for, I've done. We'll miss each other. She reiterates that the only thing she wanted was quality time with him. And she said she wanted to do things out of these rooms. I won't miss it because I'm more than that. He went on to ignore him for 13 days, but he would text her saying things like, miss you, let me make it up to you, you're taking this too far now, and then that's when they took a break. He is back on the stand, and I will likely be back one more time for the final update of the day. After the lunch break, Jane Doe was back on the stand. We just found out that Jane Doe was doing these sessions with Diddy up until a month before he got arrested, which isn't actually surprising considering the fact that when he was arrested and they raided the hotel room, he had all that stuff with him, likely probably still doing it. But Jane Doe talked about the fact that when they were doing these sessions, if they ever ran out of substances, Diddy would call someone, whether it be an assistant, a butler, or even security. She gave the names of Brendan, Frank, John, and a security guard named Fahim, who he calls Bob. There's also a man named Guido who would deliver X, Molly, Snow, and even Xanax. And she said she would take that one after putting Diddy to sleep, saying it was the only way I could knock out after everything. She testified that twice she carried substances across the country for Diddy. The first time, his chief of staff, KK, told her not to worry, saying it's fine, I do it all the time. At this point, if KK does not end up testifying, I really will be shocked. She said she packed the substances in her suitcase, flew from LA to Miami, and gave the pills to Diddy in a studio bathroom, and that night, they took X. Weeks later, she repeated it for the second time. In terms of choosing the men, she said Diddy arranged everything, but by late 2021, she had asked if she could choose them. Not because she wanted to, she says, I hated not knowing who was going to be on my body. First time she reached out to someone was an adult film star named Sly, who she called Chef and said that she had seen him when she was watching Corn with Diddy. He said they messaged, they FaceTimed, and when they were FaceTiming, she had a screen share so that Diddy could see it on his TV, and then she flew him out from Atlanta. She booked the travel, Diddy reimbursed her, and then the night followed the usual script. He said Sly became a regular, as well as another adult performer named Anton. She said she would FaceTime and send explicit photos with these two men because Diddy liked watching. Did it all to satisfy what she describes my partner's fantasy and made it clear she never saw the men outside of her time with Diddy. She talked about a time in 2021 where she had a repulsive encounter when Diddy brought a stranger. Described the man as sweaty, smelly, and not nice. She tried faking the attraction, dancing in lingerie, and giving Diddy looks begging for it to stop. She said she wasn't feeling it. Diddy laid her down. They did the deed while the other man was hovering and sweating over her. Eventually, Diddy dismissed the man, but then he brought in another guy who she knew as Paul. She said Paul had a warm energy and admitted if I had to do it, I'd rather it be him. There was her birthday encounter in 2023 where Diddy invited her to Miami and made her believe that it was just going to be the two of them. He said he was sweet at first, they were eating sushi at Nobu, and then he told her we have entertainment. She gulped and said entertainer, and he said it's your birthday, so she just accepted it. Bridewell saying she felt like a robot, saying I just turned on that version of me, the one who could just do this. They go upstairs, the man comes, and then she asked Diddy for protection, and he shot her a look like don't even effing ask. She didn't want to sour the mood. She didn't want her partner unhappy with her, but then Diddy gave the guy protection. He said Diddy then walked away. He was disappointed, and then the guy finished and he left. After the man left, they switched into a bigger suite, and she said his mood shifted. There were balloons, there was cake. Then Sly comes and she says it was hours and hours of doing so much, doing everything that she knows Diddy likes to see. Foreplay, back and forth, just all of it, and then it was morning. That wasn't the end of it, because then Diddy tells her Dawn is coming, and she continued. This is where they broke for lunch, and I will be back after the lunch break once she's back on the stand. We just found...
Court just wrapped up on week 4 of the Diddy trial, and the jury saw freak-off video for the first time today. This was when an anonymous Jane Doe, who dated Diddy from 2021 to 2024, took the stand to testify about the experiences. She said she had sex with several men while Diddy watched and recorded it. At one point, the jury saw footage of Diddy refusing to let a male escort use a condom with Jane. She claimed she didn't want to engage in the freak-offs, but felt it was what was expected of her, and eventually would arrange them herself as a surprise for Diddy, who she said she was deeply in love with. He was also paying her rent. Jane claimed she was disgusted by the escorts at times and said they smelled, and one freak-off took 3.5 days. Jane was soft-spoken and got emotional at times, while Diddy looked on and scribbled in his notebook. Court will be back in session on Monday. Make sure to listen to the Trial Diddy podcast wherever you get your podcast.
The final update of the day, Jane Doe was back on the stand after the short break, and they started talking about the notes that she had in her phone. Confirmed it was written during a time where she was emotionally overwhelmed, where she says, "You lied straight to my face to use me for a hotel night before your trip." Another one from February 12th, 2023, she wrote, "You know what, babe? It's okay. I just accept the fact that you were a pathological liar." She said her notes app was a way of expressing her feelings when she couldn't directly say these things to him. Remember, we left off where she talked about the fact that after a fight in 2023 for her birthday, she stopped responding to him and she decided to go to France. It was a solo trip she took to Paris for Fashion Week, and the first trip she had taken by herself in 2 years. Before boarding her flight, he somehow found out and he started blowing up her phone. She said he called me about 30 times in a row. She said she ignored him, but admitted that it made her feel like he actually cared. When she came back from Paris, they reconnected, and he suggested a birthday makeup trip, and she thought things would be different. She met with him in Miami before going to Turks and Caicos, but things turned sour. He said they were arguing about Paris, and he said to her, "My girl can't just up and leave like that." And then he later texted her a night of debauchery and then to the beach. She told him no, she wanted to reconnect emotionally, so he responded with, "Cool." They went to dinner. Diddy took a pill. They eventually went to the hotel and they were watching Corn, and Diddy asked her if she wanted Dawn. So some people got confused in one of my videos thinking I was talking about Dawn from Danity Kane, but Dawn is a male entertainer. He said yes, not because she wanted to, but because she was used to it at this point. They then go to Turks, and Diddy brought another entertainer named Paul. He says, "I was extremely sore at this point. I couldn't do that. Sean tried to lube me up and he said, 'You can't take any more D.' She snapped back saying this to him. She said she threw a bracelet out of frustration and went and sat outside on the villa steps crying. He then came out and told her she embarrassed him and made him look bad in front of Paul, and that she needed to apologize to Paul. So she obeyed and messaged him telling him she was sorry. He then thought she could make it up to Diddy by texting Sly and asking him to come to Turks, but he needed his passport and vaccination, and Sly was down but said he didn't have a vaccination card. Then talk about a love contract that she and Diddy entered in March of 2023 that was valid for 2 years. He said Diddy had asked her how much she wanted a month, and she said $15K, and he agreed to give her 10. He agreed and moved into a new home with her and her child, and thought this new place would give her some peace. She used up her 3 credit cards trying to furnish the home, so Diddy ended up furnishing it, and when asked what else he pays for, she said he got her new teeth. Asked why he got her veneers, she said he didn't like my teeth. And then she was asked who still pays for her rent to this day, and she said Diddy. Then talked about the fact that she promised him an all-star night where they would have a hotel night with their top 3 guys. Diddy felt hesitation from her, so he texted her saying, "Does your downstairs hurt?" and says, "You're not being straight with me." Then texted her a second time a minute later, and she said he quoted my text asking for help with more furniture for the house. Text her saying, "You're getting your hair done for nothing, I'm done." She said every time she would ask him for something, she felt an obligation to have one of these hotel nights. On one occasion, she texted him a photo of a pink toilet paper saying the time of the month was coming and she wanted to postpone and have the night off. And text her saying, "Look at the roof over your head and that pretty smile," obviously trying to guilt her and remind her who's in control of her finances and paying for her rent. He texted her saying, "Don't stress me about money ever again." The prosecutor then asked her what movie night was, and she said it was one of those nights where when things wouldn't happen, they would just watch the stuff he filmed of her. He then read another text message where she had sent him saying, "Why do you talk about the father of my child? All because you don't get your way one night." He then played a voice note he sent her saying, "I don't have time, baby girl. You need to get on your job." He took that as making him happy during these nights and said that he always brought up paying for the house. It felt like, I don't know, this guilt trip. This is where they ended for the day, and she will be back on the stand on Monday. The final update of the day, Jane Doe was back on the stand after the short break, and they started talking about the notes. We just found out that Jane Doe was doing these sessions with Diddy up until a month before he got arrested, which isn't actually surprising considering the fact that when he was arrested and they raided the hotel room, he had all that stuff with him, likely probably still doing it. But Jane Doe talked about the fact that when they were doing these sessions, if they ever ran out of substances, Diddy would call someone, whether it be an assistant, a butler, or even security. She gave the names of Brendan, Frank, John, and a security guard named Fahim, who he calls Bob. There was also a man named Guido who would deliver X, Molly, Snow, and even Xanax. And she said she would take that one after putting Diddy to sleep, saying it was the only way I could knock out after everything. She testified that twice she carried substances across the country for Diddy. The first time, his chief of staff, KK, told her not to worry, saying, "It's fine, I do it all the time." At this point, if KK does not end up testifying, I really will be shocked. She said she packed the substances in her suitcase, flew from LA to Miami, and gave the pills to Diddy in a studio bathroom, and that night, they took X. Weeks later, she repeated it for the second time. In terms of choosing the men, she said Diddy arranged everything, but by late 2021, she had asked if she could choose them. Not because she wanted to. She says, "I hated not knowing who was going to be on my body." First time she reached out to someone was an adult film star named Sly, who she called Chef and said that she had seen him when she was watching Corn with Diddy. She said they messaged, they FaceTimed, and when they were FaceTiming, she had a screen share so that Diddy could see it on his TV, and then she flew him out from Atlanta. She booked the travel, Diddy reimbursed her, and then the night followed the usual script. She said Sly became a regular, as well as another adult performer named Anton. She said she would FaceTime and send explicit photos with these two men because Diddy liked watching. She did it all to satisfy what she describes my partner's fantasy and made it clear she never saw the men outside of her time with Diddy. She talked about a time in 2021 where she had a repulsive encounter when Diddy brought a stranger. Described the man as sweaty, smelly, and not nice. She tried faking the attraction, dancing in lingerie, and giving Diddy looks begging for it to stop. She said she wasn't feeling it. Diddy laid her down. They did the deed while the other man was hovering and sweating over her. Eventually, Diddy dismissed the man, but then he brought in another guy who she knew as Paul. She said Paul had a warm energy and admitted if I had to do it, I'd rather it be him. There was her birthday encounter in 2023 where Diddy invited her to Miami and made her believe that it was just going to be the two of them. He said he was sweet at first, they were eating sushi at Nobu, and then he told her we have entertainment. She gulped and said entertainer, and he said it's your birthday, so she just accepted it. Her eyeball saying she felt like a robot, saying I just turned on that version of me, the one who could just do this. They go upstairs, the man comes, and then she asked Diddy for protection, and he shot her a look like don't even effing ask. She didn't want to sour the mood, she didn't want her partner unhappy with her, but then Diddy gave the guy protection. He said Diddy then walked away, he was disappointed, and then the guy finished and he left. After the man left, they switched into a bigger suite, and she said his mood shifted, there were balloons, there was cake. Then Sly comes, and she says it was hours and hours of doing so much, doing everything that she knows Diddy likes to see. Foreplay, back and forth, just all of it, and then it was morning. That wasn't the end of it, because then Diddy tells her Dawn is coming, and she continued. This is where they broke for lunch, and I will be back after the lunch break once she's back on the stand. We just found out that Jane Doe was doing these sessions with Diddy up until a month before he got arrested, which isn't actually surprising considering the fact that when he was arrested and they raided the hotel room, he had all that stuff with him, likely probably still doing it. But Jane Doe talked about the fact that when they were doing these sessions, if they ever ran out of substances.
So y'all know Jane Doe is Daphne Joy, 50 Cent baby mama.
One of Diddy's ex-girlfriends just gave one of the most graphic testimonies that we've heard during this whole trial.
Oh. What I did. Hold up.
She chose this life. She was just a prostitute. That's what people are saying about Jane Doe in the Diddy trial. But let me tell you what she actually said in court, and you decide if this was a choice or control. She said Diddy flew her to cities like LA, New York, Miami, Turks and Caicos, not for vacations, but for what he called hotel nights. He brought in men to have sex with her while he watched, directed, and filmed. He made her get her nipples pierced, and when they later came out to be infected, she took them out. He got mad at her and said, "Where are my piercings? This is the last time I see you without them." She said her back hurt from bending over all the time, her vagina was sore, and when asked why she kept going, she said she wasn't sure. Yes, he paid her rent, bought her veneers, but because he didn't like her teeth, furnished her house, but that money was not freedom, y'all. It was a leash. When she tried to cancel a night because her period was starting, he texted and said, "You're getting your hair done for nothing. I am done." That's not romance. That's financial control. And no, she couldn't just get a job. She said she was constantly traveling for Diddy, doing hotel nights, being on call. There was no room for independence. She wasn't selling sex. She was trying to stay afloat in a relationship where he made the rules and paid the bills. She said she spent her birthday sleeping with multiple men for him. Then he left and went on vacation with another woman. She was heartbroken. She told him that she needed a break, but he kept texting her saying, "Paris, Paris, Paris." He convinced her to come see him again, promised it would just be the two of them. But instead, they argued in Miami and he asked her to call an escort. She was sore, saying she couldn't keep going. And he said, "What, you can't take the dick anymore?" That's when she threw her bracelet and said, "You only brought me here to suck dick." And what did he do? He told her to apologize to Paul, the man that he had brought. And she did. She said that once she promised him an all-star party, which was 3 men in one night, in exchange for more money. But this wasn't empowerment, y'all. It was pressure. She was already living on an allowance. She asked for help buying furniture. She said he felt hesitation from her about it and said, "Does your pussy hurt? You're not being straight with me." And then reminded her that she asked for his help with furniture for her house. Then he said, "Rico is ready." She thinks Rico was Diddy's role-playing name, and how ironic is that he played Rico and now he's in a Rico case. So this was love for her, but for him, she was just another body for him to control. That's why this is a Rico case and not a relationship. Follow me for all the updates. I'll give you all the facts and none of the fluff.
A woman named Jane continued her testimony on direct in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs today. And she testified to very, very graphic sexual activity in what Cassie Ventura called freak-offs and this woman calls hotel nights.
We just found out that Jane Doe was doing these sessions with Diddy up until a month before he got arrested.
One of Diddy's ex-girlfriends just gave one of the most graphic testimonies that we've heard during this whole trial, so viewer discretion is advised because she talks about a lot of drug-fueled multi-day freak-offs with a lot of detail. So I'm going to try and say what I can, but this is what happened in the courtroom today. The woman who testified today identified herself as Jane, and she dated Diddy until his arrest in 2024. She said she was regularly beaten, drugged, and pressured into unprotected intimacy with strangers. Diddy pressured her into not using protection and to be very wild. She said she had to take ecstasy and caffeine to survive these so-called hotel nights, which were freak-offs, sometimes lasting over 3 days straight. On one occasion, she said she tried to go through one of these sober and ended up vomiting in the bathroom from disgust. And Diddy said, "Good, now you'll feel better. The third guy is here." The people included in these were a lot of male escorts, even Diddy's personal trainer, all back to back. And in order to recover and just fall asleep, she would have to take Xanax. She even testified that she was told to smuggle drugs, ecstasy and Molly in particular, across state lines from LA to Miami with help of Diddy's staff. Again, there's probably a lot of detail on this that you can read online, but I said what I could, and it was just a wild day in the courtroom, so stay tuned for what happens on Monday. One of Diddy's ex-girlfriends just...
So the Jane Doe they saying is 50 Cent baby mama, and the girl that she say that he went to meet up with in the month of February is Young Miami.
After sex with these two other
dropped a major bombshell today. Well, a lot of things actually happened today, but let's talk about this first one. Victim number 5 has been introduced. She's been kept under wraps. She's willing to testify using her real name, not an alias, not her initials. And what she has to talk about isn't even part of the official charges. Let's get into why. Basically, the purpose of this witness number 5 is to show a pattern of abuse and violence that was orchestrated by Diddy. Now, at the same time, witness number 3 is still missing. And by missing, I mean that they can't get a hold of her. She has no interest in testifying. They've subpoenaed her, and she is just not responding. We know that she is an ex, but that's about all we know. Now, on the defense side, Diddy's team is trying to flip the script on Cassie, who is going to be one of the first people to testify, basically saying that she was equally as violent as Diddy was in that video, and they say that they have video from 2016 to back those statements up. And speaking of Cassie, there was a photo from 2005 that...
Hold up, y'all. Let me see something right quick. Okay, I'm back, y'all.
Prosecution wants in and defense wants out. Now, the reason for this is that prosecution is arguing that this shows how happy Cassie was before everything happened with Diddy and how this has truly impacted her life. Now, the judge sided with prosecution, said that this photo is still allowed. And if all of that wasn't enough, out of the 45 jurors they had going in from Wednesday, 2 of them have already dropped out, bringing that number to 43, and they decided to do final jury selection, not today like they were supposed to, but Monday. So they're going to be coming in an hour before opening arguments to whittle the jury down from the 43 people left to 12 jurors and 6 alternates. And think about this. If this is how it's already going before opening statements even begin, this trial is going to be absolutely wild. Now, if there's any other parts of it that you want me to deep dive, drop that in the comments. Make sure that follow up, because I will be covering this trial every single day very closely. And yeah, we'll see you guys when we...
Day 18 of the criminal trial of Sean Combs. Today, we'll be hearing more testimony from Jane. She's referred to as victim 2. Yesterday, Jane spoke for several hours on the stand. She had long, dark hair. She's an attractive woman. She had on a brown coat. It was like a blazer type of setup over top of a long dress. She told jurors that in May 2021, she was first told by Combs about his fantasy to watch her have sex with paid escorts. She said that these debauchery nights, as they called them, opened up a Pandora's box between her and Combs. Jane also got emotional on the stand when she was talking about how she felt when Combs first proposed this idea. Also, yesterday from the judge, we heard him warn Mr. Combs not to nod or to look at 12 jurors. And the judge has said this after he was nodding and staring at the jurors during the testimony of Brianna Bongolan. Jane will be on the stand at least till the end of Monday in terms of her direct questioning from prosecutors. She'll then face cross-examination, likely by defense attorney Nicole Westmoreland. Day 18 of the criminal trial of Sean Combs. Today we'll be hearing...
Jane Doe will testify on the witness stand today that Diddy is still paying her rent currently, as in today, June 6, 2025. I'm Amanda from the Point of No Return, and we are covering the Diddy trial. Jane testified that her and Diddy entered into a 2-year verbal contract that they called a love contract, and in this contract, he would give her $10,000 a month. She decided with this $10,000 a month that she would pay her rent.
Her rent was $10,000.
The prosecution asked her, "Who's paying your rent now?" She said, "Sean." This was a confirmation that Sean P. Diddy Combs is currently still paying Jane's rent as of today. Truly, I'm gagged. She also testified after that he got her some new teeth. She said he didn't like the appearance of her teeth, pointing out that he also said this. At the time, she would also let Diddy know, "I'm not seeing you often enough." He then responded in a text message and told her this: "Well, get over it, please. Look at the roof over your head and that pretty smile. I don't want to do anything if that's still an issue." So there's a lot to unpack here today. I'm going to try to tell you everything I can, and I'm going to categorize it. However, there's so much to say that most of this you're going to have to head over to the Point of No Return True Crime Podcast when we drop the episode about everything that happened on week 4 on Monday. Because, babe, I can't fit it all in this one TikTok. So this is about some of Diddy's demands and the protection that he wanted to use during intercourse, or the lack thereof. This is a quote straight from Jane. She says, "He wanted me to be wild and sexual." She also testified that escorts often would not use protection, even though she asked. Some of them would comply. However, Diddy would be very disgruntled about it and would not want them to use it. She testified on the stand today. He did not want to see a rubber while watching. Also in court today, they played a freak-off video to back this up. In that freak-off video, the escort agrees to wear one when she asks. However, Diddy can be heard in the video requesting that he doesn't. She also recalls crying during freak-offs. She said when this would happen, Diddy would seem offended. It happened on 2 separate occasions. On one, he said, "Are you crying?" She said his face looked very disgusted. The second time she said it happened, she was so high, she remembers intermittently blacking out. She also said that she clung to Diddy's butler in desperation for the freak-off to not happen, but it happened anyway. She later on broke down in front of him in the shower in tears, and she said that his response was, "Don't effing do this right now. I'm high and I can't effing see that. I'm just too high." She would also tell the jury today that eventually Diddy only wanted to hook up with her only after she spent hours having intercourse with escorts. Here's a text she sent him from 2023. "Ever since I opened Pandora's box, I've never been able to close it. I'm so much more than just being loved in the dark, in hotel rooms, doing things that make me feel disgusted. I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and makes me feel disgusted with myself. I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head." His response was, "Girl, stop." She would also testify for her own comfortability that they recruited adult film stars instead of just finding random escorts. She named these people by names, and she said that they would find them on Instagram and Diddy would compare photos of them, all kinds of stuff. I'll get into the details of that on the podcast. Jane would also testify that she got frequent UTIs, which is something that we also heard from Cassie. Another thing that we also heard from Cassie is that Diddy would make them perform through these freak-offs even during UTIs before they were healed. Jane also said the same thing, quoting, "It felt like burning and constant urination." She also said her pelvic area consistently hurt during freak-offs and that it didn't feel comfortable, but she felt like she couldn't complain because Diddy wanted her to stay positive. Here's another quote. She said Diddy would become upset, defensive, belittling, or dismissive on multiple occasions if she suggested anything that sounded like something he didn't want to do. Of course, she also brought up drug use. She said that they would often run out of drugs during freak-off sessions. But of course, his assistants or any of his security guards would then bring in more drugs. This again is the prosecution establishing that crime family or that enterprise of people that are helping him to commit crimes. So another person that they would also bring up is Christina Karam, Diddy's former chief of staff. She's a person that they consistently bring up about helping during freak-offs, outside of freak-offs, money transactions, anything of that nature. This particular time, Jane brought her up because she's testifying that Diddy asked Jane to bring a package of drugs from California to Miami in her checked luggage. She told Christina Karam, and Christina Karam reassured her and said, "I do it all the time." Basically saying it's no problem, you should be just fine. She also talked about some body pain that she experienced, and this was to her back and her shoulders after freak-offs, and she said this was because of how she would be positioned, quoting, "Because I would be at the edge of the seat or the edge of the bed in the position that he liked." Just for some background, I'm sure many of you are wondering, because I was wondering, if you guys know about Diddy and his public relationships at the time of a lot of this, we know that Diddy was dating Jane, according to Jane, from 2020 all the way up until 2024. And per what they're telling us in this case, the last freak off that she had with him was in August of 2024. So I was just wondering, like, this whole time, most of this time, he was dating Young Miami. He also had a baby during this time with Dana Tran. So I'm just trying to figure out where did all this fall into play, as he was also with Jane. Jane knew about it. So I'm putting the timeline together, and here it is. So jurors would look at a lot of text messages today, and they saw a text message chain from November 2021. This was after Jane returned from a 2-day freak off, and during that freak off, she was at a weekend getaway with P. Diddy, and after that, she said that she returned to see Instagram photos of Diddy at a home gym with a lady. So she says, this doesn't make me feel good at all. I see what I'm turning into in your eyes. You've been saying that you miss me and you want to see me more, but you were lying. You just want the hotel shit. He then cusses her ass out in another message, and he says, you are effing nuts. Be so sad. Go crazy. Go do whatever the F you want to do. It doesn't matter if I just finished effing her the other day. Then in 2023, during her birthday, he took another woman to Turks and Caicos. I looked up when
That's your Miami.
I believe Jane is, when her birthday is, and they confirmed that her birthday is in February. Then I looked up when Young Miami's birthday is. It is also in the beginning of February. And they were in Turks and Caicos in 2023. I'm just saying. So she says in 2023, he took another woman to Turks for her birthday. I texted, it really feels like you use me to get off, and then you go off for a week. You've promised our getaways for years, and all we do is hotels. So she claimed that she didn't care about him being with other women. She just wanted some romance in the mix as well. So these birthdays were a breaking point for her, because also during her birthday in 2022, he played her to the left and was celebrating Young Miami the year before that. But again, during this birthday in 2023, the plot thickens. So instead of doing something that she wanted to do for her birthday, Diddy surprises her with 3 male escorts for her birthday. She says she was dressed up, she was excited to be around her man, and then he says, here's the entertainment for the night. And he was talking about the male escorts. She said there were 2 of them, and just when she thought it was over, another male walked in unannounced. And then, of course, days later, she sees this big, grandiose birthday celebration of Turks and Caicos, and she's had enough. After that, she kind of broke it off with Diddy for a little while, and then after that, that is when they got into their love contract, and he started giving her the $10,000 every month. But if she wanted more than the $10,000, sometimes he would require her to have a different type of freak off, which we heard for the first time today, an all-star party. This was where the all-stars, or the top 3 guys, would all go at the same time or night with her in one night. She texted him about a particular all-star night at one point in time when she wanted to purchase some furniture, which was outside of that $10K budget that he normally gave her from month to month. She ended up telling him that she was on her period and that she was going to be able to do it. He wrote her and said, don't stress me about money ever again. He also wrote her another message and said, I don't have time, baby girl. You need to get on your job. She also talked about another thing that they did called movie nights, and this is where they would watch back the freak off tapes together. She also today talked about one point in time getting nipple piercings, and then they got infected, and Diddy was pissed because she couldn't put them back in. There's so much more that I need to cover about day 18, but it's going to be on the podcast. So make sure that you stick around and tune in on Monday for week 4 recap.
Diddy trial day 18, Jane is still on the stand. AUSA called me. What directions would Sean give Jane to put the baby oil on the man? To touch myself. AUSA, when you knew the camera was on, how did you react? Jane, it was part of it. AUSA, did Sean ever record you while not on drugs? Jane, no. AUSA, did you act like you enjoyed it? Yes. AUSA, why? Jane, I wanted to put on a good show. AUSA, what fantasy talk did you engage in? Jane, so much. Role play, a fantasy. I'm sorry, there are just so many memories. He would create characters. AUSA, I'm going to show you some exhibits, not the council screen. This is
the time you gonna curse at me? I don't have a bunch of guy friends. Don't matter if I just effed her. Be sad, go crazy. I don't deserve being honest with someone. She tells the prosecutors she doesn't believe the other woman was just coming to the gym and she didn't actually care that he was laying with her. He said, I just wanted that time with him, so she tells him it's not me you want, it's these nights. Then talked about the fact that Diddy had 2 phones because he started dating another woman. He said she saw the fact that he had done a big birthday for her. This is the time you gonna curse at me? I don't have a bunch of guy friends. Don't matter if I just effed her. Be sad.
Jane Doe said she texted Diddy a long text message and told him that she was done with the freak off debaucheries and that he was just using her for the hotel nights, because how could he take a dream vacation with his new girlfriend and she's buying him gifts when he told her that she was just a business partner. But now they're hanging out and taking luxury vacations together. She said she was hurt and she was very jealous. She said Diddy would always reach out to the men for the freak offs, but she was the one who reached out to a few of them, which was like Anton and Sly. And she said that they ended up flying Sly from Atlanta to New York to be with them because Diddy had got a man from a website and she didn't like him and she didn't want to do nothing with him and the man couldn't perform. She said she would get to the room and the rooms were already being set up by the assistant. She took a picture of the assistant setting up the rooms with the red light, the baby oil, the rugs, the money. She said there was always lots of cash money that was delivered, and if they ran out of money because they had multiple workers coming in throughout the night at the hotel, they would call Christina Corum and she would bring more cash. When she would complain about having to do these freak offs and not being able to spend more quality time with him, because by this time she said that he was just only doing the FOs with her and he would spend time with her for like holidays or birthdays, Valentine's Day, stuff like that. But then after those special occasions, they would do fun stuff. He would be very lovey-dovey. It would just only be the 2 of them. But then at the end of the night, he would always want another entertainer or worker to come and be with her for him to watch and record. She said the usuals that they were always with, like Paul and Dawn and stuff like that, they would fly them to LA and they would come to her actual house and do them. And she was like, you're making my house nasty and gross and disgusting with having all these debauchery hotel night freak offs in my home. I don't want to do this anymore. And he said, stop sending me these long text messages complaining all the time. If you don't want to be with me, just say that. She's like, no, it's not that I don't want to be with you. I just don't want to do these type of activities and be this for you and just do all of this like work that you want me to do that I don't want to do. She said sometimes it was so hard in the middle of it, she would ask Diddy to give her another E-pill just so she could zone out and detach from the situation. She said after a while she became so numb to it. She was like putting on this role, but she became so numb to it that she just disassociated. Stated that Diddy wanted her to get her nips pierced. She got them pierced after Christina Corum made the appointment, but they ended up getting infected from all of the baby oil and getting caught in the lingerie costumes. She said Diddy asked her one time during the freak off in New York at the Trump Hotel, where are my piercings? And she said they got infected. He said, well, next time I see you, you better have them. Oh, this is a lot. Now, Young Miami, Carisha has entered the chat because she is the young lady who was the business partner that helped Diddy make all the money in the music industry, who he took to Turks. But they didn't become public until 2022. But you know, that's how he always works with his relationships. It's always friendship, then it builds into partnership, then it builds into... Jane Doe says she...
We just found out that Jane Doe was doing these sessions with Diddy up until a month before he got arrested, which isn't actually surprising considering...
Okay, guys, so it's being alleged that in the Diddy case, he and Cassie were allegedly purchasing all of their D-rugs from Ray J. If you guys didn't know, Ray J was always on the scene partying and hanging out with Diddy and a bunch of other...
It's not that Ray J the singer. In court, they said Ray J, but Jane Doe said she don't know why they call his name Ray J. So it's not the Ray J singer Ray J, but it's another Ray J off the street that they call Ray J.
Weeks later, she repeated it for the second time. In terms of choosing the men, she said,
Wild Boy is what Diddy is. We're on day 18 of the Diddy trial, and Jane just said she was still having freak-offs with him August of 2024. That's 1 month before his arrest. Now, keep in mind, I know he was arrested while preparing for a freak-off, but this is crazy. And tell me why the FBI raided his homes, and he was still throwing these parties at his house. That's wild. According to Jane's testimony, she flew from NYC to Miami back in August 2024 and took ecstasy before the freak-off even began. And where did this happen? Diddy's Star Island mansion. Yes, the same one that federal agents swarmed in earlier that year. She said these freak-offs didn't fully stop, even after the raids. They just happened less frequently. But from 2021 to 2023, it was weekly. Then between February and August 2024, only a few times. But here's the kicker. Diddy was allegedly still paying her rent the whole time. He was still financially on the hook. And she admitted that she only showed up because she felt like she had to. She testified that these sessions left her feeling emotionally drained. Sometimes she would even be crying and describe them as being so intense, and she needed rugs to get through it. When I tell y'all, this is crazy. And this wasn't some years ago. Like, this was literally 30 days before federal agents cuffed him. Like, this trial keeps getting darker. Y'all, but stay tuned, stay seated, and stay ready, because what's happening right now? Because tomorrow's tea, it might be boiling over back.
Jane Doe testified that these debauchery nights would last so long that she would be so tired and so exhausted, and she would have to use more rugs to get through the night to numb herself to be able to get through. She says one time Diddy said that he wanted to do 30 days of sobriety, and before they did the 30 days of sobriety, he wanted them to meet at the La Hamaj Hotel in LA. You know, the one where the other worker testified from that hotel about all the oil, the smells, and the candle wax. Okay, so she said that they had their last hurrah that night, right? Jane testified that she started vomiting because she was so overwhelmed after the first two guys. She told Diddy, "I'm just vomiting, I don't feel good, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Good, glad you're done vomiting. Now you can get ready for the third guy because he's already here." So she's not only having to be with one guy multiple times, but some nights she's even doing multiple guys multiple times. Jane Doe testified that these debauchery nights would last so long that she would be so tired and so exhausted.
Did somebody say hotel nights? You may be asking yourself, what are hotel nights? Those are the new freak-offs. It is day 18 of the Diddy trial, and I'm going to give it to you. Yes, you heard hotel nights. That is what Jane, who is Diddy's ex-girlfriend now, would call them. So Jane would have these hotel nights with Diddy, and the longest one she had lasted 3.5 days, with the shortest being about 12 hours. These hotel nights resembled freak-offs. Jane mentions how many times she told Diddy that she didn't want to do the freak-offs anymore. He ended up making her feel obligated, but also he was paying her rent. $10,000 towards her rent he was doing it every month. She felt trapped. She mentions that she needed drugs to get through those hotel nights. Jane also mentioned how Diddy wanted to be sober for 30 days. And guess what? In those 30 days, during a sober party, they were still doing a lot of drugs. Diddy surprised her on her birthday with an entertainer for a hotel party. She mentioned that she got UTIs, yeast infections almost every week, and it was a pain to her. She mentioned that she felt used because Diddy ended up taking another woman out on a trip. Jane's attorney has been saying that media outlets has been trying to out her identity. And she's also testifying that Diddy still pays her rent. And at the end, a recording was played. And this recording was said that she was going to have a rude awakening. You will have silence if she did not participate in hotel nights. He also said, you have left me no choice. You have me treating you, he said. I am trying to be clear. I am going to disappear on you. And did I also mention that she smuggled drugs from Los Angeles to Miami, or did he? This could be the RICO charge that we've been talking about. Coercion to commit crime, a whole enterprise. And KK, y'all remember her, Christina Corum, Diddy's right-hand man? She said, don't worry, it's fine. I do this stuff for him all the time. Just put it in your checked baggage. Well, that's Friday, and that's the week, y'all. Jane comes back on Monday. Make sure y'all keep following.
Victim 2, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, using the pseudonym Jane Doe, is continuing her testimony on day 18. Here's everything she said so far. She recalled going to an event in Vegas with Diddy, and this ended how many of their nights did, with a freak-off or with entertainment, as she referred to it. Diddy called her his freak, and he wanted her to be wild and sexual, and she said she barely recognized herself. She also said that she repeatedly asked that the entertainers wear protection, and not just while the hotel nights were occurring, but in separate private conversations with Diddy. She said that he would always guilt trip her and say that he didn't want to see rubber whilst he was watching. A video was then played for the court where you could clearly hear Jane asking the entertainer to put protection on, and Diddy interrupted saying, you've already taken that, D, and they continued without. When she was asked why she didn't just say no, she answered that he would get agitated. Now this bit's quite graphic, so I do apologize, but she said that Diddy liked the entertainers to finish on her, and then he would have intercourse with her whilst the fluids were still on her because he liked to play around with it. She described the hotel nights as going on for hours, so sometimes finishing one session, then going for a shower, and getting ready for the next round. And Diddy would say things like, you're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's go out on a high note. She then recalled a time where she believed she was going to have a date night with Diddy and some one-on-one time, but he told her an entertainer was going to come by real quick, but this lasted for 18 hours. When it was over, Diddy said that he had to leave and Jane started crying, and she said he looked at her like he was disgusted and said, are you crying? She said she would try to get the hotel nights finished sooner by having intercourse with the entertainers fast, but that Diddy would instruct her to slow down, more foreplay, or say, I'm not ready to see that yet. She said that Diddy was always in control, giving her directions, taking pictures, and taking care of himself. Another time that she recalled crying after a hotel night, despite the fact that this one took place in Diddy's home, was after she'd been with the entertainer Paul. She was in the shower, she was so exhausted she almost collapsed, and she started crying. She said they were both so high, and Diddy said to her, don't do this right now. The court then took a short break, but Jane returned to say that the only thing she'd ever enjoyed about the hotel nights was the time she got to spend with Diddy afterward. She said that she would cook for him and massage him, and they would watch their favorite shows on TV. I would finally get to cuddle with him and sleep with him. She said that she would feel really happy to be ending the night with Diddy, but then she'd have to fight to block out just how sad she was after. Jane said in 2023 that she spoke to Diddy about no longer having hotel nights, that she wanted it to go back to how it was when they first started dating. She said she was now doing things that made her feel disgusted with herself, and she didn't want to feel obligated to perform these nights for him. She testified that Diddy responded saying, girl, stop. She also said that substances were always available on hotel nights, so E, Charlie, Molly, and a pink powder. She said the entertainers were never allowed to use them, but if she didn't use them, it all felt too real. She said she only ever tried to do hotel nights without substances twice, one of these being with Paul, but she said it all felt too real, and she asked Diddy for a pill, and he gave it to her. The second time she described as lasting 18 hours, and she wasn't feeling well after being with 2 guys. She even threw up, and Diddy said, that's good, now you're ready for the 3rd guy, he's here. Jane said that if they ever ran out of substances during a hotel night, Diddy would call one of his assistants or a butler or one of his security team, and they would bring them to the room. She specifically named Frank, Brendan, John, and Fahim, who Diddy referred to as Fa. Another person named Guido would also bring E, Molly, Charlie, and Xanax, and when she was asked if she took Xanax, she said yes when Diddy was asleep. She was then asked if she'd ever carried any substances for Diddy, and she said yes on 2 occasions from LA to Miami. She said that when she expressed concern, Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Corum, said to her, it's okay, it's fine, I do it all the time. She was given a package which she then put inside her luggage, and she traveled to Miami to be with Diddy, handed him the package which turned out to be E, and they used it together. She testified that then 2 weeks later, she literally did the exact same thing again. She then talked about the first time that she actually picked out the men to join them in the hotel nights in late 2021, saying that she hated that the men who joined them were strangers to her. I just said to myself, if we're going to do this, I should just choose who's going to be on my body. She said the two of them were watching an adult film together starring a man whose stage name was Sly, and that Diddy encouraged her to reach out to him. She DM'd him on Instagram, then they had a FaceTime call whilst Diddy was there, and then she flew him out from Atlanta. She said the first night with Sly had followed the typical routine, and then he would frequently join them for hotel nights in LA, Miami, and New York. Jane would book the travel with the help of Diddy's travel agent, and Diddy would always pay for it. She said she contacted another adult entertainer by the name of Anton, and that after meeting him, she would sometimes have sexting FaceTime calls with both him and Sly. Diddy would watch on a shared screen, even though she had told both of the entertainers that she was alone. She said that they both sent her pictures of their genitals and that Diddy had wanted to see them. She also said that if Anton or Sly ever messaged her when she wasn't with Diddy, her responses would be more bland, and that she never met up with either of them without Diddy. She then recalled another hotel night in 2021 with a man whose name she couldn't remember, but she did remember that she was immediately repulsed by him. She described him as being sweaty and smelly, and she was hesitant, and she was trying to give Diddy signals that she wasn't into it. She said that Diddy then started having intercourse with her, and the man was hovering over her, still sweating. Jane said that Diddy instructed her to look at the other man's genitals whilst he was doing the deed with her, but she said it wasn't happening, so Diddy excused him, but then another entertainer, Paul, arrived. Jane said that she took a liking to Paul. He was nice and handsome, and if she had to do it with someone, I guess it wasn't so bad with Paul. She then talked about her birthday in 2023, where Diddy had invited her to Miami and said that they would be alone. However, over dinner, he told her there would be some entertainment. When she questioned it, he said, "It's your birthday," and so she just accepted it. She said that when the entertainer arrived, she asked Diddy for protection. He gave me these dirty looks like, "You better not ask for an effing pixie hat." He did, however, give him protection and then walked away, and Jane described him as being so disappointed. She said that once it was over with that man, she went into another room, a bigger suite, and the mood had entirely shifted. Diddy was more loving, there was cake and balloons. However, it didn't end there, because then Sly came over, and she said it was just hours and hours of pleasing this guy, doing so much, just doing all of it. I knew what my partner wanted to see, going back and forth, and then it was morning. But then Diddy told her that Don was coming, Don who we heard about yesterday. Jane testified that she said nothing, and when asked why, she said, "I love my partner," and then she slept with Don. That was everything that happened before the lunch break. I'll be back at some point with the rest of Jane Doe's testimony. Victim 2, Diddy's ex-girlfriend using the pseudonym Jane Doe, is continuing.
Today is day 18 of Diddy's trial. Victim number 2, who's going by Jane Doe, is back on the stand, and she talks about the one time she went to Vegas with Diddy. Sometimes it would be in person, other times.
So Jane is still on the stand this morning, and she has testified this morning that Diddy liked to play around. After the guys would finish, she would go to Diddy with it on her body, and he would play around in it. So we've heard nothing about the mac and cheese, but we have heard that Diddy did like that stuff a lot. How would the FO with an entertainer end? He would finish on me. Then what? We would have X. Would you clean up what he finished on you with? No. Why not? Sean liked it, to play around with it. Then what? I'd take a shower and get ready for the next one. Who would decide if you could stop when you were tired? Sean. Do you need a moment? I'm sorry, what was your question? How did you say you wanted to stop? I'd say, like, I'm hungry, make little faces. I'd send him several little cues. What would he say? He says, "You're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's go out on a high note. Let's finish strong." What would Sean give you to keep you awake and having X with the entertainers? X. Did you ever cry after one of these hotel nights? Twice. Tell us about the first. I thought it was a date night, one-on-one, but he said there would be entertainers, but just a quick one. I hung on to that, but it was 18 hours. He said, "Are you crying?" Like looking disgusted. Then he just sat there listening to music. I was clinging to him. He said he could move things around with his family and I could go home with him. I just wanted to be in his arms after all. And the second time, I was in the shower after one of these nights. Is your memory spotty? What do you remember? I was having X with Paul. Then I was in the shower with Sean. He said, "Stop it. I'm too high. Stop." So Jane is still on the stand this morning, and she has testified this morning that
It is Friday, day 18 in the Diddy trial, and you know I've got the details. Back on the stand, Sean's former girlfriend, who's going by the name of Jane, but we all know is 50 Cent's baby mama, Daphne, because he confirmed it, and so do the details. Jane testified that they did not use any protection when doing these hotel nights with other men. She had asked Sean repeatedly that she wanted to, but he would guilt trip her and say he didn't want to see a condom while watching. Jane got emotional on the stand when discussing that these hotel nights could go for multiple rounds. And when she would tell Sean that she was getting tired, he would say, "You're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's finish strong." And then he would give her multiple doses of ecstasy per night to keep her awake. She told the jury that she would try to get these hotel nights over with as soon as she could, but Sean didn't like that. He asked me to slow things down and more foreplay. She said she felt obligated to participate in hotel nights because if she didn't, he would take her house away. She said one night of fun turned into the entirety of our relationship. I felt disgusted with myself and was confusing your lust for me as love. She told Sean in a text, "I don't want to play this role in your life anymore. It's dark, sleazy, and it makes me feel disgusted with myself. It's the only reason you have me around and why you pay for my house. I don't want to feel obligated to perform and fear losing you. I don't want to feel like that anymore. I just want to talk like adults and figure out where we go from here." Jane says that she had to use rugs to get through these hotel nights. She broke down crying, saying that she just wanted to make it feel easier. She testified that the longest hotel night was 3.5 days over New Year's in 2022. She didn't sleep at all, and to stay awake, she had to take ecstasy, caffeine, water, and protein shakes. The shortest hotel night was 12 hours long. They also had these sobriety parties where she wouldn't use rugs. She said one time in Beverly Hills, it lasted too long. It was the typical routine. She was in an outfit with Sean, then had to go 2 rounds with 2 different men. She went to the bathroom and threw up because she wasn't feeling good. Sean came in and was like, "That's good, you feel better, let's go. The third guy is here." She said she hated doing these sobriety parties without rugs. She felt repulsed and was mad at herself for doing it. She testified that sometimes during these hotel nights, they would run out of rugs, and Sean would call an assistant, a butler, a security guard to bring more rugs. Jane said that Sean's chief of staff, Christina Karam, had told her to pick up rugs from his LA home and fly with them to meet him in Miami. Christina Karam told her, "It's fine, I do it all the time. Put it in your check-in luggage." Jane testifies how she was repulsed by one of the men participating in a hotel night. She said that he was sweaty and smelly and he didn't look nice. "I remember I was hesitant and I kept trying to tell Sean I wasn't feeling it. Sean suggested oral on the man and she was like, 'No, I'm not feeling it.' She said Sean started having sex with her and the man was just sweating on her." She testified that even though she was clear with Sean that she did not want to do a hotel night for her birthday, he surprised her with a male escort for her birthday. At this point, they break for lunch. It's Friday, day 18 in the Diddy trial, and this is the recap after the lunch break. So Jane, former girlfriend of Sean, is back on the stand, and she recalls a trip to New York where she was telling Sean she did not want to participate in any more hotel nights. When they arrived to the Trump Hotel, she said assistants were setting up the room for a hotel night. Of course, they started arguing. She said he was really defensive. She also testified that she had booked entertainers for hotel nights twice as a surprise for Sean because it was expected. I could read between the lines. He didn't have to tell me to do things. He would say, "I can't wait to see what you have for me." I knew that meant I needed to set up a hotel night for him. When she was asked how she felt about Sean, she said, "I loved him very deeply. I told him every day." Jane said that when she was with Sean, he had asked her to get her nips pierced because it turned him on. She said she had taken them out because they kept getting infected and bleeding, and he got upset with her. She also testified about how she had to get ready for these hotel nights. She said, I would have my nails, hair, and tan. I would have outfits and shoes ready, same type of shoes every night, high heels, stripper heels. I had them on the entire time. It was a lot. The baby oil would make my feet sticky and oily. Jane said she got urinary tract and yeast infections almost every week, and she would have to take antibiotics. And sometimes she couldn't fully recover before there'd be another hotel night. Diddy said he didn't know how Jane felt about hotel nights, despite her telling him often. She says she told him repeatedly over and over again since 2021. She said when she would tell him, he would be upset, dismissive, and belittle her. In 2022, Jane had written him a note saying that she was done. You are hurtful and damaging to me. I have to go away from you because you have crossed too many lines. I am done being used by you. You leave it to me to clean up and recover on my own. Jane said she felt used after finding out that Diddy had taken another woman on a trip after their Turks and Caicos trip. When she confronted him, Sean said he didn't feel like he needed to tell her what he was doing with someone else. There were 15 photos shown to the jury. Apparently, they were explicit photos of Jane with other men from hotel nights. They said some jurors were closing their eyes or covering their face. After the Turks and Caicos trip, her and Sean had made like a contract that he was going to give her an allowance of $10,000 a month, which she was spending on rent for a new home. The prosecutor asked her, who's paying your rent now? She said, Sean. One thing I find interesting, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but her attorneys apparently were asking the judge to put a gag order in place to help protect her identity. But I'm sorry, if you have Google or you follow pop culture, hip hop culture during that time period, you know who she is. Your baby daddy outed you on social media. Like, a gag order at this time, I think is unnecessary. She also testified that Sean apparently paid for her veneers because he didn't like her teeth. She then testified about a time that Sean got mad at her. She didn't want to do a hotel night because she got her period. And he's like, F you for real, leave me alone. And she's like, I've been giving you hotel nights for 2.5 years. I'm not a liar, cheater, or Smex robot. We need to have a serious talk about everything. They then played a message in court that Sean had left her. And this is because she didn't want to do a hotel night. He's like, I'm not playing around with you. You're going to have a rude awakening. You got me on my job. It will never work like that over here. You need to get on your job. Basically meaning I'm taking care of you, so you need to take care of me. He's like, I'm trying to be clear. I'm going to disappear on you. At this point, they wrap up for the day. She will be back on the stand Monday morning. It's Friday, day 18 in the Diddy trial, and this is the recap after the lunch break. So Jane, former girlfriend of Sean, is back on the stand, and she recalls a trip to New York where
Jane Doe, the 304, back with diabolical testimony for her second day in the Diddler trial. Jane Doe describes these disgusting, horrific FOs where she had to take down multiple men a night, even being recorded during these incidences. When asked how she felt about being recorded, she said it was just another part of the routine. She didn't even know the camera was there. Jane also describes her feelings of jealousy when he posted another girl on his Instagram, taking her out for lavish birthdays and trips to Turks, all these different things. And she was so angry and frustrated because she basically felt like an SA slave. She goes on to say that Diddy still pays her rent though, which I find interesting, and he's giving her veneers, and she promised him an all-star freak. So I'm just like, what is going on here? So if he's released from jail, like, does she have to pay up? Like, I don't know. Jane Doe, the 304, back with diabolical testimony for
After the lunch break, Jane Doe was back on the stand and she was talking about a night in LA where Diddy had brought a man to their hotel room and she said she tried for 30 minutes but just couldn't fake it. She was repulsed by him, and when she tried to talk to Diddy in another room, she said he was agitated. That kind of hiccup was rare, but he decided to just bring another man. He talked about a time when Diddy wanted her to come to New York, but she told him, "I'm not coming if you're just setting me up with another man." And the final update of the day, Jane Doe was back on the stand after the short break, and they started talking about the notes that she had in her phone. Confirmed it was written during a time where she was emotionally overwhelmed, where she says, "You lied straight to my face to use me for a hotel night before your trip." Another one from February 12, 2023, she wrote, "You know what, babe? It's okay. I just accept the fact that you were a pathological liar." She said her notes app was a way of expressing her feelings when she couldn't directly say these things to him. Remember, we left off where she talked about the fact that after a fight in 2023 for her birthday, she stopped responding to him and she decided to go to France. It was a solo trip she took to Paris for Fashion Week, and the first trip she had taken by herself in 2 years. Before boarding her flight, he somehow found out and he started blowing up her phone. She said he called me about 30 times in a row. She said she ignored him but admitted that it made her feel like he actually cared. When she came back from Paris, they reconnected and he suggested a birthday makeup trip and she thought things would be different. She met with him in Miami before going to Turks and Caicos, but things turned sour. He said they were arguing about Paris and he said to her, "My girl can't just up and leave like that." And then he later texted her a night of debauchery and then to the beach. She told him no, she wanted to reconnect emotionally, so he responded with, "Cool." They went to dinner. Diddy took a pill. They eventually went to the hotel and they were watching Korn, and Diddy asked her if she wanted Dawn. So some people got confused in one of my videos thinking I was talking about Dawn from Danity Kane, but Dawn is a male entertainer. He said yes, not because she wanted to, but because she was used to it at this point. They then go to Turks and Diddy brought another entertainer named Paul. He says, "I was extremely sore at this point. I couldn't do that. Sean tried to lube me up and he said, 'You can't take any more D.' She snapped back saying this to him. She said she threw a bracelet out of frustration and went and sat outside on the villa steps crying. He then came out and told her she embarrassed him and made him look bad in front of Paul and that she needed to apologize to Paul. So she obeyed and messaged him telling him she was sorry. She then thought she could make it up to Diddy by texting Sly and asking him to come to Turks, but he needed his passport and vaccination, and Sly was down but said he didn't have a vaccination card. Then talk about a love contract that she and Diddy entered in March of 2023 that was valid for 2 years. He said Diddy had asked her how much she wanted a month and she said $15K and he agreed to give her 10. He agreed and moved into a new home with her and her child and thought this new place would give her some peace. She used up her 3 credit cards trying to furnish the home, so Diddy ended up furnishing it, and when asked what else he pays for, she said he got her new teeth. Asked why he got her veneers, she said he didn't like my teeth. And then she was asked who still pays for her rent to this day, and she said Diddy. Then talked about the fact that she promised him an all-star night where they would have a hotel night with their top 3 guys. Diddy felt hesitation from her, so he texted her saying, "Does your downstairs hurt?" and says, "You're not being straight with me." Then texted her a second time a minute later, and she said he quoted my text asking for help with more furniture for the house. Text her saying, "You're getting your hair done for nothing, I'm done." She said every time she would ask him for something, she felt an obligation to have one of these hotel nights. On one occasion, she texted him a photo of a pink toilet paper saying the time of the month was coming and she wanted to postpone and have the night off. And text her saying, "Look at the roof over your head and that pretty smile," obviously trying to guilt her and remind her who's in control of her finances and paying for her rent. He texted her saying, "Don't stress me about money ever again." The prosecutor then asked her what movie night was, and she said it was one of those nights where when things wouldn't happen, they would just watch the stuff he filmed of her. He then read another text message where she had sent him saying, "Why do you talk about the father of my child? All because you don't get your way one night." He then played a voice note he sent her saying, "I don't have time, baby girl. You need to get on your job." He took that as making him happy during these nights and said that he always brought up paying for the house. It felt like, I don't know, this guilt trip. This is where they ended for the day, and she will...
Am I the only one thinking that he paid her $10,000 a month because she wasn't able to make as many videos because she was a social media influencer? She said she rented, her rent was $10,000 a month. Am I the only one thinking that maybe she should have gotten something cheaper and kept the rest of the money?
Here's what happened on day 18 of the Diddy trial. Victim Jane resumed her testimony and she brought receipts. The jury saw and heard a video of her during the freak-offs asking other men to wear a condom, but Diddy said no. The videos are important because you hear Diddy's own voice. It's not just the victims saying they were coerced. Diddy recorded the videos on his cell phone for his own sexual pleasure and to maintain control over the participants. But now they're being used as evidence against him. Jane cried during the freak-offs and on the witness stand. Jane also had text messages where she said to Diddy that she did not want to participate in the hotel nights or have sex with other men. This is important because the defense cross-examined Cassie on emails and text messages in which she said she loved the freak-offs. Jane didn't have those same messages, and she also wrote notes in her iPhone about how she was being used by Diddy. Diddy threatened to stop paying Jane's rent if she didn't participate, and she got UTIs and yeast infections because of the hotel nights. Like Cassie, Diddy controlled the way Jane looked, and he told her to get her nipples pierced and demanded that she put them back in when she took them out. Jane also said Diddy watched her have sex with 3 men on the same night on her birthday. That's the first time we've heard about multiple men in the freak-off. Jane said Diddy's employees would bring drugs and cash into the hotel rooms during the freak-offs. That makes them co-conspirators in the sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution. Jane said she entered into a 2-year love contract with Diddy. She was paid $10,000 a month, which she used on rent. Jane said Diddy is still paying her rent, and he paid for her veneers. The defense will likely argue that Jane was essentially a prostitute and that she wasn't forced to do the freak-offs. If the defense loses on prostitution but wins on sex trafficking, that's a big win for Diddy. Here's what happened on day 8.
What was the goddamn prostitute? So what do y'all think? Do y'all think she...
We just found out that Jane Doe was doing these sessions with Diddy up until a month before he got arrested.
Y'all, I'm only coming on here for just a second. Did you all see what Will Smith said in court for Diddy's trial? Woo! Check it out. Y'all, I'm only coming on here for just a second. Did you all see what Will Smith...
Don't listen to her.
June 6, 2025. We on day 18 of the United States versus Sean Combs trial. I'm kind of in a, complicated situation when it comes to giving my thoughts upon this Diddy trial. TikTok hating on me so bad, I'm shadow banned everywhere. But it is what it is. I'm going to see it the whole way through. Shout out to Armand. I've been keeping up with the commentary this week, as well as happy birthday to Armand as well. With that being said, I done already stated what needed to be stated. I done already told y'all what it was. However, this court case is straight fucking comedy. What I gather from all of this is these are regular motherfuckers, just like us. Diddy just got money and just be, he just be controlling everybody around him. Is his world and motherfuckers is just existing in it. Is his world and motherfuckers want to be a part of it. Is his world and he the one with all of the money. So a motherfucker gonna say how high when he say jump. This is what I take. This is what I gather from it all. Diddy round this motherfucker whispering in bitches' ear, talking about I'm the devil. That lets me know what side he on. And you know what? I'm all for, cleaning up this motherfucking mess because it's a fucking mess. He's a fucking mess with his undercover attracted to men ass. You know, all of this shit is fucking crazy to me. They went from freak offs to hotel nights. I don't want no hotel night. Nowadays, man, you gotta be paying like $500, $600, $700 a night to even get a decent hotel. Cause the quality of these hotels and restaurants are not what they used to be. So if you up in a hotel freaking off and you don't got no Diddy money, you're disgusting. You're disgusting. You nasty as hell if you having a hotel night like a freak off and you don't got no Diddy money. Y'all nasty. Y'all nasty as fuck. Then Diddy done this girl say he grabbed her by her breast and held her over the balcony. Hey, Diddy is a motherfucker. He a trip, and y'all really let that little nigga, you know, do y'all in the way that he did. Like, that's so funny to me. Like, y'all really make this man, let this man think he's somebody that he isn't. Like, that's crazy. I don't give a fuck how much money a motherfucker got. Like, that shit does not outvalue my morals, my dignity, my values, my ethics. That shit don't outvalue none of that. And you motherfuckers, y'all just sold y'all soul. I remember in 2017 when that boy Boot Gang went viral. First time somebody showed me one of his videos, cause it looked like he was in Pimberlake Mall. I was like, damn. I said he done sold his soul for the internet. He sold his soul for views. Like, this shit crazy. Y'all let Diddy do all of that to y'all just for a couple dollars? 5,000, 10,000. That ain't no motherfucking money. 50 Cent, get your baby mama. They said that's 50 Cent baby mama. The Jane Doe. So I don't know. But they fried as fuck. Diddy ass need to be in jail. And then they say somebody named Ray J was brought up in court, but Ray J, Brandy little brother, he's saying that it's not him. I know one thing, if it is him, just know him and a whole lot of other motherfuckers about to get ready to go down right along with Diddy. If Diddy don't give up those top people, a lot of other motherfuckers are about to get ready to go to jail with him. The reason why Diddy is not gonna give up those top people is because they're gonna get him before they even get arrested. Diddy, they gonna get Diddy before they really take these people to jail. Diddy about to be the Black Jeffrey Epstein, and me personally, I don't even think Jeffrey Epstein died in jail, to be honest with you. But they gonna make sure they gonna do something to Diddy. I can tell you that much. But them my thoughts, you know. Like I said, today is day 18 in court of the United States versus Sean D.
U.S. versus Sean Combs, a.k.a. Hamburger Combs, a.k.a. Miss Janice Baby Boy. Day 18, final chapter. Hamburger wooed Jane one more time after she stood on business for Paris. Friends, and he kept texting her, and then he finally told her, I just want to see you again. And she said, okay, but only if we could reconnect. They started the process, and even in the reconnection, he mentioned, what about one of them wild nights? And she said, see, this the fuck shit I'm talking about. I told you I want me and you to reconnect. He said, okay, baby, I'm sorry. Jane said he flew her to Miami, and it was in Miami that they discussed her going to Paris, as well as him being with his newfound girlfriend friend that he was business partners with. Allegedly, Carisha, allegedly. And she pretty much was on his ass about that. And he said, I just can't tell my girl when to leave. Another thing that came out in court today was that his then girlfriend was really taking care of him. Now, I'm not going to say he broke, but it ain't tricking if you got it. Allegedly, Miss Janice. Allegedly. They kept going back and forth with the argument or whatever. And you know what happened. He popped a pill, and then they went to get their thrill. Another man came into the mix. After that, he took her Turks and Caicos, you know, like he did the other lady who was dating his business partner. And it was there that another man showed up, but she just couldn't go through with it. She said she tried, but it was real painful. You know, she told him, man, I just can't do it. Pretty much her coochie was broke. You know, how else can I say it, y'all? Allegedly, Jane, allegedly. She said even in pain with her broken vagina, they did try to do it with the man, but she just couldn't do it. She was just in too much pain. She said that's when he tried to lube her up or tried to oil her, tried to rub her down. And she got mad, and she just told him, stop the bullshit. It's not going to work. And he said, you don't want to keep going? And that's when she said she spazzed out on him, threw the bracelet that he gave her at him and said, you just want me here for sex and for, la 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 on a man. She said Hamburglar went into full dad/pimp mode and told her, how could you embarrass me like this in front of company? Apologize. And she did. Then she began to tell the court how Hamburglar started paying her rent in 2023. Now, a lot of people really was perturbed with what she said and were very shocked. But what that's telling me is she really didn't come into the relationship with asking him for much. I'm assuming, I mean, I don't know where they get the gold digger aspect from it, but whatever. And I also think that he probably was giving her money, cash here or there. I mean, that's kind of how the rappers do it. Allegedly, rap community, allegedly. She also shared that he didn't just pay her rent every month. He didn't like her teeth, so he got her teeth fixed, and a lot of more little cosmetic, updos. So it was more than just $10,000 a month when you really look at it. He also furnished her house and some, I'm sure that's high-end furniture. That's probably a lot of money. And he probably gave her like money for a car and stuff like this. So, it was more than just $10,000 a month for rent. Jane said she brought up the All-Star party one weekend for All-Star weekend. And she pretty much told him that she wanted to surprise him and have two to three choo-choo. She wanted a choo-choo to go on. She also said that Hamburglar had another name for himself, like I think Rico or something like that, but she really was kind of vague on that information. She also said that Hamburglar texted her and said, is your vagina hurt? Is it broke? Or, oh, lady, she need a jump starter for her. Well, anyway, Darren, stay out of this. Stay out of women's business. Jane told the court that her cycle actually came on that particular weekend or whatever, and she texted him and showed him a picture of, on a piece of toilet paper. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. And he was upset, and he said, I got your hair done for nothing. Hamburglar ain't worth a damn. According to Jane, that's when he began to, throw jabs about who her son's father was. And she texted him back and said, why are you treating me like this? Why do you bring him up just because you couldn't bust a nut? Miss Janice, what happened to y'all household growing up? Allegedly, Miss Janice, allegedly. Even now, he's paying her rent, and people were really shocked by that. But I wasn't really shocked by that because I don't think the lady really want to be there. If I'm Jane, I'm thinking, damn, they done bust this man and I done help him transport stuff back to back, and I'm out here with him paying for, those kind of people to come across state lines. To me, if she wouldn't have been with the prosecutors, she may be going the route of KK, because KK is a co-conspirator along with other people, and that ain't alleged, Miss Janice. I'm shocked that he's still paying her rent. I'm more surprised that she even testifying for the prosecutions. To me, that just lets you know they got a whole lot more shit about them that we don't know about yet. So if I was Jane, I'd be singing like Minnie Riperton. La 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 la. Ah. U.S. versus Sean Combs.
Y'all, I finna go to sleep. Y'all hit the like and subscribe button. Follow me for more of Diddy updates. Thank y'all for watching. And hit the like and subscribe button.